And the first route that we're going to take a look at is the flanker who's lined up out here on the right, and he's running a go route in that area there. And then we wind up to the inside of him, which is going to be the right slot receiver. He runs a seam route down the right hash mark. And then we also have this guy right here, which is going to be the left slot receiver. He also runs a seam route into that area. And then over here on the left side, the far outside on the left, we have the split end. He also runs a go route, and he winds up going in that area there as he runs his route. And then the other route that we want to mention is the halfback. And what he's going to wind up doing is running this go route, and this, not go route, excuse me, this out route as he breaks in this area here, and then he breaks out towards the left sideline. So those are the routes as far as this particular passing concept is concerned. Now, what we want to do is kind of show you how this is going to work. We're going to break down each route individually and kind of give you an idea how the zone coverage is going to play. And the coverage that we're going to use is a cover 3 coverage. And what we wind up having is we wind up having 5 defenders playing underneath, and we have 3 defenders playing deep. So let's go and take a look at those defenders. We got this defender right here. He's playing the flat right here, and we have this one right here playing the flat as well. Then underneath those, inside of those two guys, we actually have these defenders. We have this linebacker, we have this linebacker, and then we have a safety. They're all playing hook zones. And then we wind up having 3 deep coverage, as I said earlier, and he's got this guy right here, which is the right corner. He drops back here. You wind up having a free safety playing there, and then the left cornerback, he drops back into this area. So there's that look as far as what we have. So we have 5 defenders playing underneath coverage as far as zone goes, and then we have 3 defenders playing zone coverage deep. And what we want to show you is how this is going to work in Madden NFL 12, or at least how we feel it's going to work. All right, so let's go back here and work our way through these pass routes. We're going to go ahead and start off with our first pass route, which happens to be the flanker, and he's running that go route as we mentioned earlier. Now, this one really isn't going to change that much as far as the way the coverage works from Madden NFL 11 to Madden NFL 12. And let's just go and talk about it. This guy right here, which is this left cornerback, he's just going to go ahead and drop back. Now, at some point, he's going to actually wind up playing man coverage on him. And so he's going to wind up going here, here, and here. So rather than him, in years past, he might drop back in this area here. Once that receiver sees just kind of go a little bit over, then he's actually going to go with them. He's not going to come back and go in this area here. He's actually going to be a little bit more tighter than years past with his go route. So that's going to make that route pretty hard to throw to. Let's continue on to the inside here, which is this right inside slot receiver. He runs the seam route, and he kind of goes a little bit just to the inside like that, as you're seeing. Now, in years past, what would wind up happening is a hook zone defender would wind up covering to a certain area. So this one would say this is a strong safety. He would drop back in here. In Madden NFL 11, he would drop about right here, and that would be it. Then he would let him go, and hopefully this free safety playing over the top would wind up picking them up into this area here. Well, that's going to change this year. Instead of this free safety, or excuse me, strong safety dropping back into that specific area he's designed to, as far as spot dropping goes, what he's going to wind up doing is he's actually going to wind up dropping further back. As long as no other receiver comes in his area, he's actually going to drop back and cover this guy, making that inside pass that you've seen a lot of guys do. So a lot of guys, what they wind up doing is they would wind up locating that receiver, and then they wind up throwing a quick bullet pass to him into this area here and completing it. It usually be a passing window because, as I said earlier, this hook zone defender, the strong safety, wouldn't drop far enough back to cover him. And so he would drop in this area here, and then we'd have a little bit of a void and a little bit of a passing window to make that throw. And that's not going to be the case anymore. As I said earlier, this guy's actually going to wind up dropping further back as long as no other receiver comes in this area. Let's go ahead and move on to the next receiver, and that's going to wind up being this halfback. Now, he's going to run this route here. He's going to wind up breaking in this area here. Now, this route could play a little bit of a havoc onto coverages as far as patterning goes, and we'll talk about that here in just a bit as we go through it. But for right now, just know that this defender right here, which is the hook zone defender, is actually going to cover him at least initially. So rather than him, remember, in Madden NFL 11, he would actually drop back in here, and then he'd try to come up here and cover. Now, if your opponent was really good, he'd throw a quick bullet pass and complete this for a short, maybe 5-yard passing play. Well, now this defender is actually going to be right up on his jock as he breaks to the inside here and actually be covering him. Rather than being way back here, he'll actually be right in here, and he'll be doing pattern reading, and he'll actually be playing man coverage to a certain extent as that receiver goes across the field into that area there. Eventually, he is going to release him to another defender. We're going to talk about this in just a second. All right, let's go into this next one, and that's this guy right here, which is this left slot receiver. Again, he was running this seam route. Now, the defender that's going to wind up picking him up is this hook zone defender, at least initially. And what he's going to wind up doing is, in years past, he would just drop it here, right? Well, what he's going to do is he's actually going to sink back as long as there's no other defender that winds up, or excuse me, no other receiver that winds up coming in his area. Now, as I just mentioned, this halfback is running this route right here, and this is where the havoc could be a problem. As this receiver comes across the middle, at some point, this defender right here, what I said earlier, was covering him, this foot zone defender right here, he's going to release him, so he's going to get in this area here, and at some point he's going to release him, and then what's going to wind up happening is this defender right here who's playing the hook zone should come up to cover him for a second, and if that happens, then what will happen is this free safety would wind up coming over here and coming back to cover him. So rather than being way over here, he should be in position to pick him up and take that right away. Now, one of the things I can tell you based on what I've read and my knowledge of pattern reading is this: seam routes can cause a lot of problems as well as crossing routes, but seam routes definitely can cause some problems as far as pattern reading coverage goes. So seam routes could be still a problem this year based on, depending on what your opponent is running on offense as far as other routes that are running along with that seam route. So just keep that in mind. So at any rate, that's something that you got to watch for this year, but that seam route could be an issue, but kind of get an idea how that works. Now let's keep going on with this pass route. As this receiver winds up coming across, and then this flat defender is going to wind up covering him at some point too, right here in this area here. So that'd be what would wind up happening. And then once that happened, then this guy would wind up dropping back. Let's go ahead and erase a couple things here as far as what we're showing in the illustration. And then what would wind up happening is this defender then would drop back again in this area here, just taking other routes away, or at least watch when any receivers come in this area. So that's kind of how I got an idea as far as what I'm thinking patterning is going to work as far as with these routes so far. And the last route that we need to go and take a look at is this route here. It's ran by the split end. Again, he's running that go route. And then the same thing is what the flanker did as far as the left cornerback, the way he covers him, it'll be the same thing. This guy will wind up dropping back. At some point, he'll actually pick him up in man coverage. And he should wind up taking some to an inside area and not allow that pass to be thrown to that receiver. So or at least to the outside, maybe this receiver will actually wind up going a little bit to the outside, or as far as this corner would wind up going to the outside and covering him. But at some point, he should wind up taking him in man coverage and basically taking that route away. So that's kind of how that's going to work as far as pattern reading goes. As far as this four verticals passing concept goes, like I said, one of the things you got to watch for this year is seam routes and crossing routes are probably going to cause some problems. A formation that also may cause some problems, or at least formations, will be trips formations. They should give pattern reading some issues. This 2x2 set that you're seeing now, the shotgun formation, probably isn't going to be that hard to defend. I can also tell you this, based on what I've read and what I've seen, at least what my thoughts are, is that pattern reading this year is going to make it more difficult. I think a lot of us blitzing, especially in zone coverage, rather than blitzing and leaving some of these areas, because when you blitz, you don't have as many defenders dropping back in zone coverage, and therefore it leaves some of the areas a little bit more open. What I suspect a lot of guys are going to do is they're going to run a lot of these type of zone defenses, rather than be a 3-man, 4-man front, whatever, and then they're going to wind up having multiple defenders dropping back. They may be dropping offensive linemen dropping back, or defensive linemen dropping back. For instance, they may come out in the 1-5-5 and literally have 9 guys dropping back in coverage. I'll tell you right now, that's going to be hard to throw on that, because what patterning has already improved, just on the patterning alone is going to improve. And then when you throw in 9 guys or 10 guys dropping back in pass coverage, it's going to make it that much more difficult. You guys think all coverage was difficult last season or over the years past? Wait till we see what it's going to be. At least my initial thoughts are, is Madden NFL 12 comes along, I think it's going to be a little bit harder to throw the ball this year as far as with the pattern reading goes, because I just think that the coverages are going to be really, really tight. And I'm glad it's going to be like that, because what it's going to do, even for me, I love to throw the ball. It's going to force me to have to run the ball a little bit more to go ahead and set up the pass plays. So at any rate, this is my thoughts on 4 verticals as far as the way these pass routes should be covered, at least my initial thoughts. Now, again, I don't have the game. I have not played the game. I have no idea how this is going to work. I should get a pretty good idea once NCAA Football 12 is released. Should get a better idea how pass reading or pattern reading is going to work as far as the Madden NFL 12, because that game engine is pretty similar, I'm sure, as far as the pattern reading coverages go, as far as the logic goes. So hopefully this will give you guys a little bit of, at least an understanding. We'll continue to keep breaking down some more passing concepts and how pattern reading is going to cover them for Madden NFL 12, and hopefully get you guys ready. So again, thanks for hanging out with me on this particular breakdown. This is www.maddenguides.com. We're going to continue breaking down stuff for you guys all season long, and we got lots of good stuff coming up once Madden NFL 12 drops.